let's see. It says preparing to live stream the meeting. Setting up your meeting for Facebook Live. Redirecting to Facebook Live page. Okay, it looks like it is doing. We are live now. Okay, so let's see. Got it. And let me hit the recording button. Okay, all right. Hello, Facebook friends. This is Thiki Nairu, and I'm on the back porch of my little forest with my coffee cup. And I'm so excited to be here because we're going to have an interesting, important, and lively conversation with three people that are so dear to my heart, and you're going to enjoy it. And so here it is. We are living through turbulent times where issues affecting our community and the earth are diverse, simultaneous, complex, numerous, and sometimes plain ugly. And so for the next hour, we're going to be sharing important and intriguing conversation with special guests who have joined us from Puerto Rico and from Aotearoa, New Zealand, and Austin, Texas, from the Potawatomi by way of Austin and the Taino people by way of Austin. And so we're basically going to be asking the question, what is the value of preserving cultural heritage in this complex times? What is the value of preserving cultural heritage in this complex time? So let's jump right in. Round one, we're going to start by meeting all of our special guests. And I'm going to go ahead and choose, and we're going to start with Professor Nelie Lebron. Hit it, Nelie.
Hi. Hola desde Puerto Rico. Welcome to our beautiful island of Puerto Rico. I am currently at my workplace, the Puerto Rico Conservatorio of Music in the capital city of San Juan. First of all, thank you, Thiki Nairu, for the invitation to be a part of this very important conversation. And I want to welcome and bless in a very special way Abuela Eila and Sky Howell, who are also here with us. So from Puerto Rico to all of you, our blessings and a moment of peace. And being so far from each of learning and of course of sharing what we have done as a life project, which is preserving and learning about our ancestors, our culture, and also being a teacher. I am a teacher here. This is the Musical University of Puerto Rico. So it is very important for us to not only learn about our ancestors, but also to share with our younger students, our music education students and our music students in general, the importance and the value of having ancestors, of having a history, having a culture that makes us unique in the world, but that also helps us share what makes us human, which is creativity, which is a common history, which is the making of a world that, be it as it may, is the world we have today. And I know that as us who are very preoccupied with preserving our ancestries and sharing our generations, there are many other people who also do it, I know, and to make awareness to others who maybe like the idea of learning about our past, but are not sure of what's the importance of having this very, very important legacy to give to our future generations. So I've been involved in the cultural scene in Puerto Rico for many, many, many years. I am the main singer of an ensemble here in Puerto Rico Taller Conjunto Paracumbe. Most of us are teachers. We are 12 members, and out of the 12, 10 of us are professional teachers. That's what we do. So we're also trained musicians, and we dedicate ourselves to share the Afro-Puerto Rican ancestry music in Puerto Rico, bomba en plena mainly, but not only as performers, but also as teachers. So we have like a dual way of sharing our music. We are very proud of having a very good music ensemble. And we say it humbly, but we believe that it's very important to, especially because it's our music of our ancestors, to do it in the best quality way possible. Because there's these ideas that if it's folk music or if it's music from the people, that anything goes. That it should be done in any way possible because, well, that belongs to our ancestors and, well, they were, you know, that's in the past, what's going on now. But we have a saying in Spanish that says, si no sabes de dónde vienes, no sabes para dónde vas. If you don't know where you come from, you don't know where you're going. So we always keep that in mind. And so we are very happy to have been founded in 1979, and we have kept on going till today. So I'm also very honored to be here in such important company, and knowing that it doesn't matter when we talk about our culture and our ancestors, boundaries are in existence. So thank you, Tequina, for having me, and please come to Puerto Rico whenever you want. We're here.
You know, I will take you up on that.
Of course, definitely.
Okay, so now I would like to introduce Grandmother Eila, who's joined us from Aotearoa.
Kia ora te whānau. Tai nui te waka. Wai kato te awa. Maunga tautari te maunga. Ko Raukawa te iwi. Tukorehe te hapu. Ko waiau. Ko Eila toku ingoa. Ko te marae o manawa nui. Tukorehe hoki. Mihana nui kia koutou. O te roa te tangata ko te hotu ko te watapu ko tai tangatara ko ue. Ka mama o ka kati tā whao tūrunga te tangata Raukawa. Good morning, everybody, from the land of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Aotearoa means the light in the long white cloud. So those of our ancestors that came by waka, by canoe, to this land that was already settled, but they came from afar. They arrived here. My particular waka with my peoples arrived here when the puhutakawa tree was blooming. There's a beautiful, beautiful trees, and they're ripe. They're red, sorry, and they're bright red. So that's what they saw on the horizon as they arrived on this land. So it's with the puhutakawa, the tree of the puhutakawa, that I arrive among you, and what a wonderful gathering of family wahine, beautiful women that are holding aloft the most appreciated gift that our tipuna, our ancestors, have left behind. Number one, our breath. Number two, the languages. And then the sounds. And caretaking of our lands and our peoples is utmost for all of us. Otherwise, we wouldn't have anything much in common. So I'm very happy. You wanted us to just introduce ourselves from our places, right, to Kinairu. Thank you very much for this invitation. So, kia ora whānau.
Thank you. Oh my God. I feel like I want to cry. Thank you. Okay. Now it's time to introduce Sky Howell. Hit it, Sky. I have no words.
Bonjour. My heart is so full to be in this Zoom room, this virtual space together today. And does Nakas Sky Howell, Potawatomi, Ottawa, and my name is Sky Howell of the Potawatomi and Ottawa tribal nations, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am a proud parent of a second grader who attends Becker Elementary and Austin ISD. I'm here in Central Texas, coming to you today from the lands, the original stewards of this land. And I want to honor the lands that we are here and that we are a part of. We honor the Cariso, the Comocrudo, the Coatzacan, one of the oldest known tribes to this land and to this region. We honor the federally recognized tribes, including the Alabama Cachata tribe of Texas, the Isleta del Sur Pueblo. We honor the state recognized tribes, including the Lipan Apache tribe. We also honor all those tribes who are never acknowledged in this area and this region. We honor all those tribes for whom we do not know their names. We honor the Delaware, the Wichita, and all of the many native tribes and the indigenous peoples of this land and region that we now know as Texas. I am a board member for Great Promise for American Indians and very honored to serve my community in that way. I'm also a partner with Full Humanity Consulting, and we work to preserve heritage and culture and education so that we can show up in our full humanity. The majority of my adult life has been putting together the missing pieces of my humanity, reclaiming a culture, language, and traditions that were stolen from my family whenever my father was forced into an adoption at 5 years old. I do this to be in community, to be able to reclaim that culture, our languages, our heritage. It's so very important for my son to understand all of who he is and for our future generations to come. And so much of my work is spent advocating for Native issues and Indigenous issues here in our local community. And again, such an honor to be here in community with each of you today. Our organization, Great Promise for American Indians, hosts an annual powwow, which over 30,000 people come from all over in attendance every year to celebrate Native American and Indigenous cultures. We also work together to advocate annually at the Capitol and with our legislators to organize around Indigenous issues. And we work together to have monthly events. So we have programming such as potlucks and having dancing and crafting and singing and drumming and sharing good meals together. This has been really hard to do over the past 2 years. We've been able to sustain our community with virtual events, but as we all know, that is not the same and it's very challenging to do. And so it's important, it's necessary, and again, so grateful for this conversation today. Miigwech.
Thank you, Sky. Yes, your work in the Austin community is visible and appreciated. And I've been in Austin for, I think, 30 years, and I've gone to the powwow every single year to honor the ancestors of this land. And so, as Taino people, we're kind of, been adopted here in Texas. And so I'm grateful for all of the indigenous ancestors who support us. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Tiki Nairu, And I am Taino by blood, spirit, and life. My ancestors have actually go back 6,000 years to the island of Puerto Rico, starting with the Arcaicos. And it took half a lifetime to realize that lineage. And it made me understand why I'm so passionate about Puerto Rico, because my family has been there forever. And so for the last 25 years, uh, I have been the founding director of the Puerto Rican Cultural Center here in Austin, Texas. And from the surface, it looks like a cultural organization. We sing, we dance, we do plays, we have classes for little ones all the way up to professional adults. But really, who we are a community of people who are attracted together because of the arts. And and so in community, we celebrate all of the ancestors of Puerto Rico in our cultural center. And then beyond that, I lead an indigenous community under the umbrella of our cultural center called Yara, Taino, and Guaitiao, which means the place of Taino and friends. And in that indigenous community, we celebrate the indigenous heritage. Uh, we share it with the community, and especially how to live in relationship with nature, which is a very important topic these days. And all are welcome to be part of that. And I'll close by saying, Tekinairu means sweet teacher, and I've dedicated my life to that. So, okay, so that's introductions. And now for the interesting and lively conversation that will follow. Uh, so the question is complex, and purposely so, because there's many facets that we can take a look at this question. The question is, what is the importance of preserving and restoring a cultural heritage in the face of increasingly complex world issues that pit modern progress and economic advancement against nature, traditional values, and community well-being? And so I'm going to invite, we'll go around in the same order, and I'm going to invite each of our amazing guests to address this question from their place in the world. So, Nelie, you go first.
It is indeed a very complex question, especially in Puerto Rico, because culture, as in many other parts of the world, here is very intertwined with politics. Puerto Rico is one of the oldest colonies in the world. And because of that, culture is might also be viewed as, let's say, something that might give the wrong impression to people who want to make the world believe that we are what we are not. So doing culture in Puerto Rico is very difficult. It's very rewarding, but it's also a double idea, not an idea, but a double purpose. When you do cultural things in Puerto Rico, and as I said before, I've been involved professionally in the cultural scene since 1979. When I started to sing professionally, bomba, which is our music that has been brought by our enslaved ancestors in Puerto Rico. So not only it has been a music of resistance, but it is also a music that gives power to women, and it helps us understand ourselves in our many identities, because we are also Taino. Oh, that's so beautiful. I'm sorry. There's a squirrel behind you, Tequila. We don't have squirrels in Puerto Rico. So our many identities include our enslaved ancestors from Western Africa, but also include our Spaniards, who were our conquistadores, who brought a part of the culture we have now, which includes our native language of Spanish. But we also are Taino, our indigenous people who were here when the Spaniards came, who had a culture, who had a language, who had a social organization. And that has been very much lost to the general history of our nation. So doing culture here is a mix of all of these wonderful ingredients that make us Puerto Rican. We have opted for using our Black African ancestry as our way of showing, of completing our culture. Why? Because it has been historically seen as the third part of our identity that has no voice, that has had no importance. People in Puerto Rico have a difficult time recognizing themselves as having African ancestry. And although we are Puerto Rican and that is a part of our identity, but it has been very recent that the general population has started to accept that part of our identity as a part of theirs, regardless of the color of their skin. In Puerto Rico, we come in all colors of the rainbow. And because of that, some people believe that if they have certain color in their skin, they belong more to one identity than another. But basically, we're all Puerto Rican. So having a different color of skin, I have cousins that look just like Tequila. And I have people in my family that are darker than dark. And we have no problem with that, because what makes us Puerto Rican goes beyond the color of the skin. But we all have to know what makes us. What is that? What is being Puerto Rican? And important part of that is our culture that comes from all of these influences. Young people today have a problem. They don't know where to go to get good information on their ancestry. I think that's a problem that might be shared by many other peoples in the world, where if they want to go and learn, sometimes their main goal or their main place to learn are social media. And we all know what social media has as basic problems. Anything goes. So some of our kids, some of our younger students are they want to learn, but they don't know where to go. So part of what we do is we teach. And we have, in the pandemic, so we've had a lot of work we have done that maybe wouldn't have been able to be done in other scenarios. So we are lucky to have had the opportunity to reach out to many, many people. But it's important that we know who we are. It's important that we know that all our ancestors are as important to be the combination and make us who we are actually right now in the 21st century, which is different of who we were in the 20th century or in the 19th century. Culture is dynamic. Culture continues to grow, to share new things, to have many influences, and to be conceived as something that is important for the people in their historic moment. Not only know what happened in the past, which is very important, but also who am I in the 21st century, December 3rd, and what is going to be my role in constructing this new Puerto Rico, this new identity? What am I going to leave to my future generations? So our work as cultural people, as singers, as dancers, as musicians, is very important, because if we don't have an idea of who we are, what are we going to preserve? We might be in the very, very bad position of losing who we are, especially because we are bombarded by so many things that dilutes our identity. Not only social media, TV, Netflix, all these wonderful things that are great, but that also help us to not understand who we are. That sometimes interferes with the possibility of us constructing the 21st century identity of Puerto Rico. And is it true that anyone who sings is a singer? Is anyone who dances is a dancer? Is culture something that is from this moment in time and that does not have anything that comes in from the past? Or is the past something that is not worthy of being preserved and learned about and just loved? Do we need to forget the past and start from anew, from zero, because the past is no longer something that is important in our present day? Or is it something that we really need to know and to enrich with new experiences? And so that's something that's being thought about right now. You know, we have both things. We have people who say, no, if you don't do things as they were in the past, it's not worthy to be taken into account. The young generations, they don't know what they're doing, so whatever they do is not important. And then we have other people who say, well, you old people, you're all living in the past. What's important is what's been going on now, you know, and with all the new technology and all the stuff. So it's okay, we know about you guys, but it's our responsibility to construct the new Puerto Rico. So somewhere between both visions is the truth. And we need to learn, where are we going to go? Where are we going to stay in that spectrum? Which is going to be our position. In my case, I am blessed because I think of myself as the link between, in a very long chain, a link between the past and the future. I have had the blessing of living in a moment, in a historic moment, where I met many of our ancestors, which were already older people. And I was a young person at the time, but I was brought up in a vision that you had to respect your elders. So when I would sit and speak to them, my husband, Emmanuel Dufrasne, he's an ethnomusicologist. So I would come with him and we would talk to the elders and talk to these old people who had so many wonderful things to tell us. And then we had a chance to learn from the mouth of the people. And then these people have all passed away. So now we have all of this knowledge, all of this sabiduría, we call it in Spanish. All of this, it's wonderful, all of this philosophy of what the past is, not from the books, but from the words of the people who lived in the times. And then we have had the wonderful opportunity to, as being the link between those who have passed and the younger generations, to help them understand and talk to them and share these histories and these stories that we had with our ancestors. And then it's wonderful because all of a sudden they hear about a history that they don't know nothing about because no one has recorded it before. So I feel very blessed and I feel very responsible to be able to share all these stories with our younger generations and have them understand the importance of knowing who they come, where they come from, who are these people, why they are like they are today, because these people existed before them. And I think the pandemic has been wonderful for that because we've had a chance to speak to so many people and they look like sponges. Everyone is so avid of learning. They want to learn and they want to hear you. And we have the voices recorded of our ancestors, and that has been such a joy, rehearing them and sharing their real voices, not what I say about them, but hearing them speak and hearing them sing and hearing their stories. And that has been amazing. So I think that technology has helped us to bring the past into the present and to help the present understand where they are today so that they can walk on to the future with this knowledge that was not available to them before. So I'm very privileged to be that link in that chain.
Wow, thank you so much. So many profound thoughts to take in, Nelie. So let's hear from grandmother Eila.
Kia ora, Nelie. Thank you.
Gracias.
Kia ora. When I introduced myself, I began with a waka, the journey of our waka, and then our river, and then our mountain. So it's paying homage to all these places where I was born. So the moment you begin to introduce yourself, people already start to know where you might be on the land, and they will hear in your voice the shape of the land, because the land has shaped you. The people that are further inland, away from the oceans, they speak very slowly because their day is very in tune with that part of nature. People that are right next to the ocean, which we are here, we speak a bit faster. You know, we're hearing the waves, and so the reo, the rhythm is a little bit faster. Like you, our land has had colonization come through. We also have, like myself, my lineage of Maori is much more predominant. However, I'm very proud of my Irish side. There's a stream of the O'Briens. And when I was younger, you know, like a lot of young people, I used to drink alcohol. And so part of that was, you know, I was thought, I'm Irish, I'm allowed to drink alcohol. And then my Maori side would make me sing even more. So as a child, the grandparents that I grew up with and adopted me, they were elders in our tribe and on our marae. Our sacred meeting places are marae, which we have huge wharenui meeting homes. So we pay homage to that too, you know, and the shape of the buildings, the arms come down, it's like a person. And the middle pole, where you see all the carvings on that, that's giving our genealogy. And so the process, our rituals of coming on to a marae, being allowed to come on, they're very strict protocols. But there was a time where a lot of it didn't quite get lost, but the language was beginning to fade. So there was a renaissance around 1975 that the ones that really held fast to the language made a huge push with the government to begin to revitalize. So in those years, right up to where we are today, like myself, the elders spoke around me, gave us the protocols and etiquette. However, the language, they spoke English so that we could get a job and be in the world. So it wasn't until my children grew up and went to university or to schools that I went back into school to learn the language. So, and if you put me next to my grandchildren now, they are full immersion. They're way ahead of me as far as speaking the language. The feel of it, because they're also the lineage of our people is many, many healers, many, many seers. So I come from that line. I think the European part of me would come from that line too, because I've been like this since childhood. What took me out further away from this country was I have been part of a retreat centre for many years. It's called the Shada Centre, and it's closer to Auckland. And I was kind of like you, Nelie, and I'd love to call you professor, because that is such an well-earned title. In our tradition, it's well-earned. You would get 2 or 3 feathers put into your hair for the effort that you have done to be where you are and how you're helping people. That's the only reason why we'd want any qualifications, because it's to help others, right? So I was very fortunate to run and be part, and still am a part of, this retreat centre. And in this retreat centre, people came from all over the world. And I realised that even though I'm very tribal, this particular place opened me up to the world. I had people come in from Amazon, from China, Russia, and I thought, oh, my cousins and my family would come visit me at this place. They said, why are you here? Why are you at this place? Why aren't you home on the marae with all of us? I couldn't answer until I came home from a journey to America. And before we got to the shores of America, another healer friend that I travel with, Moitu, we had to do our karanga, we had to do our prayer to the guardians of your land. Can we come? Can we bring our ancestry to this land? And then only till that, the doors opened and we arrived there. So when I came home, this understanding finally came into me. You're a member of humanity, Eila. Your tribe is colourful. And yes, you have this deep rootedness of who you are here. And no, you're not an expert in any one of those fields. And yes, you love prayer, because my grandmother that I lived with, she took us to church. We were Catholic. But I wanted to look beyond there even. That was too narrow. I want to pray to all angels of any tradition, first from our land, where I stand, but to all. Why is culture so important? It's what you alluded to, Nelie. It gives us roots. It gives the very foundation. Otherwise, we're very blown this way and that. And if for some unfortunate reason, or might be fortunate, that you are adopted and you don't know your heritage, you don't know your, what we call whakapapa, your genealogy, then find some place in the world that just calls to your heart. You walk past the river, you feel this tree, you feel the rocks and the sun beaming right down on you like it's calling to your very soul. Then you can claim that as your place, that I will plant my roots and I'll ask it to nurture me. It's important right now because so many people are disenfranchised. They don't know where they belong. So, all of Earth is our home. If you're in that position where you unfortunately have been put in that where the wind took you somewhere different, find that one place and you stick your mark in and you call that yours, and then you just start to fill up from nature, because all of nature is free. The sun is free. The winds are free. And so there's a special freedom for those people that don't feel the rootedness somewhere. We are lucky. This conversation among us, we are lucky because we know And we do stick it right there. Here's one of the elders. Maia maranga I runga I te rangi e tui hone. Maia maranga I runga I te papa e takoto ake nei. Ka are ai ka hono ki te pau whakatutua. Ki te pau toko tawhito. Ki te pau toko manua. Ko te ita e tūnei e. From those things, the God, whatever you might call it, is a being. And you have every right to protest and know you matter. Some force remembers your soul. It remembers the story that you said you'll come to do, to be of help to others. That being, that force, that light, that sound, that's from that place, remembers every one of us and celebrates to the nth degree, delighted that you're alive. If you're lucky enough to have the mission and you remember why we're here, hallelujah. That is a treasure. He tonga. In our language, e hara I te mea, no naya nei te aroha, no nā tupuna, tuku iho. There's only one thing that's of any value, it's love. Love. Not the old mushy on the TV love. No, really strong, nurturing. Nanny has you. Nanny's got you. She's got you and she loves you. That love, or that feeling of being a part of a greater whānau, a family, belong to a family, love. I think I've done my 5 minutes, Te Kinairu.
It's wonderful. I'm glad to give up some of my minutes to keep hearing all your voices. Thank you. So let's hear from Sky. What can you add to this story?
I just have such profound gratitude to be here with each of you again, Grandmother Aya, Professor Nelie, and Te Kinairu. Just the wisdom that you share and that you bring and that you carry on to nurture and sustain each of us and everyone who's tuned in today. I particularly connect with that notion of if you don't know where you come from, right? Like I've had to learn to give myself permission to reclaim what has been stolen because no one was going to give me that permission, right? And so it's just so important. And I'm so inspired by the work of the Maori people, in particular, in that reclamation, that renaissance of language here in the United States. We have seen the exact same thing where there's, we have about 117 native languages that are still in existence. Yet we have 500 and over almost 600 federally recognized tribes and so many that are not recognized, right? Many that we're told don't exist, I mean, there's this myth that the Taino people don't exist anymore, right? And we know that this is not true. And so with all of these language, we have all of these different tribes, we have different languages, yet we only have about 117 languages still in existence here. And we're working so hard to make sure that they don't go extinct because within 1 or 2 generations, that is a reality for our people. And so how do we take that action, locally, what can we do? But it's so inspiring to see, the work that has been done, Aotearoa, and I want to make sure I'm saying that correctly. Aotearoa.
Aotearoa.
Aotearoa, yes. Because I remember being able to go there and see, as soon as I came off the airplane, right? Like the Maori language, so beautiful and robust in all of the spaces, right? Knowing that children are learning the language, as you said, your grandchildren are learning the language. Thankfully, here, for us, for our Potawatomi language, we have an app that our cultural community has created. So my son and I are able to learn through an app, right? So we come back to that digital knowledge, being able to, as you said, Professor Nelie, to have that virtual connection really has brought us together in some different ways that would not have been possible. And so this digital age that we have, being able to connect the past to the present and creating ways for it to be accessible it's imperative to not lose all that we have and to move forward. And I think about kind of three different things when I think about why it's so important to preserve cultural heritage. Reclamation, right? Reclaiming what has been stolen from us. For many Native and Indigenous people, we have been reclaiming our cultural traditions, our language, our stories, our ceremony, all stolen from us through a legacy of colonization and cultural genocide that continues to this day. We still see it on our man-made borders, right? Who is deemed to be legal, right? And who can be treated in certain ways or not based on this construct of legality of being human. And I think the resistance piece is tied so much into our culture and our traditions. We engage in resistance to the dominant ways of thinking and that have been forced upon us to assimilate. And so how do we break free from that and understand and honor there are multiple ways of knowing and being and showing up in those ways? Part of the work that I do is racial healing circles and being a circle keeper, curating those spaces of healing. Well, this is such a very different concept, right, than most spaces, white dominant spaces that we are in professionally and in our communities. And so being able to flatten that social hierarchy, to be able to create space for everyone to be seen and to be heard and to be valued for the multiple perspectives and wisdom they bring is so important. And that's one thing I greatly appreciate about the Yara and what Tekina Aru has been working to foster in our community and welcome all of us, right, to be a part of this community, anyone who might be interested in being connected to our community. It's been so profound for my family, for my son, to be a part of ceremony that otherwise we don't have access to. Our Native community is very far away from us in the Great Lakes region. And so, within Great Promise for American Indians, the different programs that we are a part of helps us to reconnect, right? It's that grow where you're planted. And that's what we're doing here. And I'm just so grateful to have that opportunity. And I think about also the renewal, right, that comes to us from being able to engage in our culture and our traditions, our songs, particularly in this difficult time. And we've continued in virtual community. There's been the social distance powwow. You can find that on Facebook, right? It's a beautiful group of Indigenous people from all over, right, who are singing our songs, sharing our joy, sharing in our grief and loss, holding space for each other, dancing in virtual community, and then having amazing programs and conversations like this. So we've been able to do that and keep our spirits renewed in community, because to be so isolated is so difficult. And I think that renewal too of our relationships with the earth, I know for me, for my family, reconnecting and slowing down and then recognizing, wow, how caught up was I in this day-to-day grind, right? That wants to suck everything, all of our life force out of us. How can we reconnect to our relationship, to our land, to where we are, to the birds, to the animals, to everything around us, to the healing medicines that we see? And so thank you again, Miigwech. Grateful to be here, to connect and to share with each other.
Thank you, Sky. Powerful words. And so I'm going to just add a little bit because I want to save time to look through the Facebook if there's any burning questions or comments. But what can I add to all of the profound words that we've heard? Um, when I think about the state of the world and the state of the earth and these really complex problems like gentrification, social justice, climate change, mass extinction. I mean, the list is long, and there are no easy solutions. You know, the earth is crying. How can I, as one little tiny person, contribute? Uh, I think about the work done at the Puerto Rican Cultural Center and our Yara Taino. And what we're doing is creating a space where we can build community again. Because some of the things that have been under attack is the destruction of family unity, the destruction of community. I mean, the way that I grew up in community doesn't exist anymore. And how are we going to get out of this mess? Well, it's complicated, but for me personally, an important solution is to help the children grow up to be strong, powerful individuals who understand where they come from and understand where this world needs to be, and to nurture them to become those people. Our ancestors paid a dear price for us to be here today. And it is our duty to take that baton and to carry it forward. And I think that's a good place to stop. So, Sky, do you see anything in the Facebook chat that we might want to address?
I don't see any questions at this time, but supporting and gratitude to be here and to be in the space.
That's awesome. Yeah, and since this is a Facebook Live, it's being recorded and it will exist forever out there. And so people who happen to be working this afternoon won't find, we're not here live, but they will continue to find it. And so I know that this conversation will have great value. So let's go ahead and have one more little tiny tidbit of conversation. Are there any of you who think of something profound, that maybe a takeaway thought to everything that we've heard?
Oh, I would like to share. In Puerto Rico, we have had so many things going on in the past few years. We were devastated by a hurricane a few years ago. We have had hurricanes in the past, but this one hit us really hard. And what we found as a result of being without any water, running water, without any light, without many of what we come to think about as everyday commodities, we found an inner force as a big community. We are an island, so we're all close together. We're a very small island. But we were very individualistic before Maria, which is the name of this hurricane, which, well, takes, we are also a Catholic cultured community. So Maria, as many of you might know, is the name of the Virgin Mother. And it's interesting that it's the name of the Virgin Mother that had the hurricane who has devastated us very, very badly. But it's also helped us to renew ourselves. We found an inner strength. We all of a sudden, we found out that we were capable of doing things on our own, of having our diaspora as a part, as an integral part of our community at a distance. That we do have the resources to help ourselves and to succeed. And that has helped us grow. All of a sudden, well, it's very good to know that you can. And that has also renewed our nature. Everything is so green and so beautiful. And we have found a new respect for this planet. that is our house. And so hopefully we will keep on taking care of our environment, of our inner spirits, of our connections with the people who are connected with us because we're all humans, and of our newfound strength. And so I think that's very important. It's a really good lesson. And also that things are worth taking care of. I mean, that we have something that we can cherish, that we have a treasure that we should leave to our future generations. And we have, as Dekina said, our ancestors paid a very big price with their history for us to be where we are today. And I am so happy that although we have just met and we are from different parts of the world, we are humans, and so that's what makes us one. And to have met you all, so please come to Puerto Rico whenever you can and share our joy of being a wonderful and beautiful island and of receiving all of our people from the world, regardless of what politicians say should be the boundaries between us. We are more alike than we are different, and that's what should be important. So God bless you all.
Kia ora. Every person, unless you're crippled, can lie on the ground. Sit on the ground. Put your hands on the earth. We've been through this many, many, many times, and she has survived. It's us that get shaken off. So if you think it's too big and you can't do anything, sit on the ground, lay on the ground, give her some love. And you might be lucky, you might feel her love back. We're not helpless, really. If you can't physically do it, just send love. She will feel it. Nature will feel love. It's not tangible when we're in the world of everything has to be solid. No, so that's what I will leave. Because the next generation, oh my goodness me, they've got things, they've got bags of something to teach us. So that's what I will leave. We're not completely helpless. Oh, and don't forget Sky Father and all the winds in between and every other atua, every guardian. Send love. It's for them to give us some sustenance. Yeah. Kia ora.
Very much. Yes, I think it can be so hard to feel like we can make a difference sometimes because of the context of every single thing that's been going on and been added right on top of everything. However, there's a lot you can do, and thinking about what you can do in your own community, in your own relationships, in your own family, it's just the most important place to start. Here in our little school district, we're working to create policies against race-based mascots, for example, right? Because we know the impact that that has on our Native children and our Indigenous children when they are characterized as opposed to being considered fully human. The other thing that we do too is understanding that, again, Professor Nelie, you had mentioned we come in all colors, right? And unfortunately, when we look at the data and how it's measured, right, by racial groups, this really is an inaccurate representation of who we are as people. And so when we look at resources that are available, this has very real consequences. And so how do we adequately measure those of us who are biracial and multiracial to be counted in this account of Native American, of Indigenous peoples, so that way we can have the resources that we need to be able to revitalize our language, our culture, and our traditions. And so, requesting these things from school boards is really important to say that Native and Indigenous students are bilingual, right? And they should be under multilingual education. There's no question about that. Our schools are what stole our language. So what is the responsibility in reclaiming that? Right? And so those are some things that we can do, some tangible actions. And then if you are someone who has been detribalized, who is struggling to reconnect, who is unsure of how to do that, there's so many dynamic and beautiful communities to help you along the way. You're not alone, but you do have to give yourself permission to reclaim what's been stolen, and nobody else can give you that. So please, please do that. And you will find the support along the way. Miigwech. And in Potawatomi, we don't say bye unless we don't want to see you again. So we say Bamapi, which means see you later.
Thank you. Thank you, all of you. My heart is full. I don't know about you guys. I have so much to think about. But I wanted to let everybody know that, this conversation is a prelude to an upcoming community theater production that we're going to have called Valiente Soy. And now you understand where the title comes. Valiant I am. And it was something that got inspired when I went to Puerto Rico this summer, looking for an interesting historical topic. And Nelie knows because she's been my teacher since 2004 or something. And so she knows I'm always hitting her for interesting historical ideas. But when I got to the island this time, after 2 years of not being able to come because of COVID, I realized that there's so much going on today that is profound, and not only in Puerto Rico, but touches all of our communities, that we needed to write a play that was contemporary. And so in the play, we have two characters who live in Austin, Texas, and they get inspired to move to Puerto Rico. And little do they know that their ancestors have been calling them to help open their eyes to some of these issues that are not only, again, prevalent in Puerto Rico, but all over. And so the idea behind the play is to sensitize, because we're subtle activists. You'll never find me on the steps of the Capitol with a sign, but I bring revelation to issues through beauty, through music, through art. Sort of like the story of the wind and the sun, right? And so I'm hoping that this conversation and the play, which is December 11th and 12th, will ask you to think about what is important in cultural heritage for you, and these situations that are, alive in the world today, and what role will you play in this landscape, because everybody can make a difference. So I want to thank the sponsors who made this possible. And this whole project was in sponsorship with the MAP Fund, supported by the Doris Duke Charitable Foundation and the Andrew W. Mellon Foundation and Humanities Texas, the state affiliate of the National Endowment for the Humanities. And so many agencies that helped us survive through COVID, through the CARES Act and American Recovery Plan. We would not be here today without all of those. And so I want to close by asking Grandmother Eila to sing for us a Maori Blessing.
Calm down. Te kai whakaora, Homai he ora ngā tukuna te ngā, kia rere. Te kai whakaora, Homai he ora ngā tukuna te ngā, kia rere. Rātou kua wehe atu, haere rā. Moi mai, mā mātou e hapai ake, nā te mana kona wawata e, au e, Tukorehe, Tukorehe. Creator, you know the dreaming. You have taken our ancestors home to sleep, but you have left us here to keep going, keep bringing the dreaming and doing our everything we can to make the world a better place. Amen.
Hankatu, which is Aming in Taino. So thank you, everybody. This is Taki Naidu with so much love and emotion right now. And I'm going to try to figure out how to gracefully come out of Facebook Live so nobody move. Let's see. I don't know. I'm going to hit end and hope that works.